Today our topic is modulation. Before going to discuss about the modulation technique, here we have a basic block diagram of communication system. Here transmitter will generate the message signal or information signal that is very low frequency signal that will be passes through either wired or wireless to the receiver. Here message signal is very low frequency signal that may not transmit for the longer distances. To transmit for the longer distances this message signal, here we using the carrier signal. That carrier signal is high frequency signal that is used to just carry the our message signal towards the receiver. Here we having some words, that is message signal, carrier signal, modulated signal, demodulated signal. Message signal, so message signal is very low frequency signal that having the frequency range from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. It is a low frequency signal, baseband signal or band limited signal, information signal or audio frequency signal or modulating signal. Next, coming to carrier signal. Carrier signal is a high frequency signal or it is a dummy signal. Just we using this carrier signal to carry the our message signal. Here it is also called radio frequency signal. Next, coming to modulated signal. Modulated signal is the signal generated by the modulator. So modulator is placed at the transmitter side. The input of this modulator circuit is message signal and carrier signal, and output is modulated signal. Next, coming to demodulated signal. Demodulated signal is generated by the demodulator circuit. So it is placed at the receiver side. The input of this demodulator is modulated signal and output is the demodulated signal, that is nothing but our virginal signal. Extracting the our virginal signal from the modulated signal we call as the demodulation. Next, coming to modulation. Modulation is the process of changing the characteristics of the carrier signal with respect to the instantaneous changes in the message signal. Here carrier signal having three characteristics: amplitude, frequency, phase. Next to our modulation is classified into three types based on the carrier signal used. Here modulation is analog modulation, pulse modulation, digital modulation. In the analog modulation, carrier signal is continuous format and message signal also continuous signal, and this carrier signal having amplitude, frequency, phase. So then analog modulation again classified into two types: amplitude modulation, analog modulation. Amplitude modulation the amplitude of the carrier signal is varying with respect to the amplitude of the message signal. Here frequency phase of the carrier signal is constant. Again this classified into four types: double sideband, full carrier, double sideband, suppressed carrier, single sideband, suppressed carrier, vestigial sideband. Next, coming to angle modulation. Angle modulation also classified into two types: frequency modulation, phase modulation. Frequency of the carrier signal is varying with respect to the message signal frequency. Remaining phase and amplitude both are constant of the carrier. So this is also classified into two types based on the modulation index. Modulation index beta is less than or equal to 1, then narrow band frequency modulation. Beta is greater than 1, that is wide band frequency modulation. So phase modulation. Phase of the carrier signal is varying with respect to the phase of the message signal. Here frequency and amplitude both are constant. Next, coming to pulse modulation. So here carrier signal is pulse, message signal is continuous signal. So pulse having amplitude, width, position. So Here pulse modulation classified into pulse amplitude modulation, pulse position modulation, pulse width modulation. Next coming to digital modulation. So here carrier signal is sinusoidal signal, that is continuous signal, and here data is digital data. So here this carrier having amplitude, frequency and phase. So digital is classified into amplitude shift keying, frequency shift keying, phase shift keying,